The views expressed on the Warren and Bradley Show are not necessarily those held by the hosts, Warren and Bradley, nor those of the proprietors of the website, warrenandbradley.com.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, fire!
Let's make some magic.
It is magic time. Hello, and welcome once again to the Warren and Bradley Show. I am one of your hosts, Bradley Victor.
I'm the other host, Warren Van.
Oh, my lord, it's a beautiful day in Bellingham, Washington, after a week's worth of rainy weather. Get out there and enjoy it.
Yeah, it's nice.
Of course, by the
I mean,
time
it's
you hear
literally
this-
just cleared up.
Yeah, I think this is it. I think it's begun now. Maybe it's too early to say.
Way too early.
It's way too early to say.
It's a month too early.
Yeah, it's June now, but yeah, we still have about a month and a half
Yeah.
of shit. People
Yeah.
were asking me about, let's start going swimming, man. Let's get out in the lake. No. The lake takes...
Lake's probably cold.
We have a fairly large, fairly deep lake, Lake Whatcom near Bellingham. I mean, we have a bunch of lakes, but that's the main one I swim in. And it takes at least until like mid-July until your nipples will be visible.
Yeah.
If you get into that water. It's
all
ridiculous.
that cold runoff from the mountains.
Yeah.
The melting snow.
Snow melts.
Yeah.
We're going to have a good show this week. We have a lot to talk about. But first, a little show business to discuss. We've been complaining about how nobody listens to the show. And
Our complaints have fallen on deaf ears, ironically enough.
But actually, recently, I haven't really kept you apprised of this, Warren, because
No.
I keep all the technical things, you know.
Yeah.
That's my forte. Well, I don't know if it's my forte, but it's what I deal with. For the last, I'd say 10 episodes, we have not been on iTunes. I started noticing, I don't know when it was, episode 66 or so, new episodes weren't posting on iTunes. I was like, what the fuck is this? What's going on? And so...
I think another podcast I listened to, they were talking about that problem.
Yeah,
That they were having that problem.
Yeah, iTunes is fucked up. And you get no customer support from Apple because you're not a customer.
Yeah.
They're providing a service for you to be able to put your podcast up there. So they don't
And then
give
we
a
know
shit.
they hate this whole podcast thing
Yeah.
because there isn't any money in it.
There's no money in it for
Yeah.
them. So they don't give a shit. They don't help out. So I couldn't figure out what the hell was going on. I was interfacing with our IT guy John. We were both kind of stumped. We couldn't figure out what was happening. And we figured maybe I tweaked a couple of the iTunes settings. I thought maybe it'll come back eventually. And so for weeks and weeks, this was the case. And I
Does
realized...
that explain the precipitous drop in our
Well, it
listenership?
explains some of it, because I realized almost half of our audience is not subscribed. They would just listen to us on iTunes.
So if they wouldn't see the new episode.
New episodes aren't posting. So I think a lot of people, and they're not hearing these episodes, the recent ones. So I think a lot of people just thought the show was gone.
Yeah.
It's not gone. If you're subscribed, you still get it because you're manually subscribed to our RSS feed, which is why it's very important to subscribe. But if you're hearing this, you are subscribed, so it doesn't matter if I tell you.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to get the word out there somehow. But
Tell
now
your neighbors.
we are finally back on iTunes. It took weeks and weeks. IT guy John was helpful trying to figure this stuff out, and eventually I just had to resubmit our feed to iTunes. If you're a subscriber, I resubmitted it in such a way that you're still subscribed. So we didn't lose our subscribers, but now it's as if we're a brand new show on iTunes, even though there's, 78 episodes or something on there. But all our ratings are gone. Our
no.
reviews. So now we're starting from scratch,
The
basically.
reviews are gone?
The reviews are gone.
Oh, those precious reviews.
So any of you out there who are fans of the show, who enjoy the show, who want to make Warren and I happy, you should get on iTunes. I changed the link on our website now on warrenandbradley.com. If you hit that listen in iTunes button, it will bring you to our iTunes show page now. Leave us a review. We need to build back up our high rating. We had a perfect 5-star rating at one point. So let's get that back. Go to iTunes. I can't remember what the feed ID is now, but if you just go to our website, warrenandbradley.com, hit on the Listen in iTunes button, and leave us a nice review. And tell your friends. If people are like, what happened to that Warren and Bradley show? What's going on? Tell them that it's...
It seems unlikely with the few listeners we have that they're going to just randomly cross into each other,
It's
and
possible.
and ask each other about the show.
It's very possible.
So does that mean the people that were just like manually downloading every time are just going to be shocked with like 10 shows dropping on them all at once.
Yeah.
Oh, that's going to be great for them.
If they bother, like, oh, maybe I'll check back to see if the show is back. I think
It's
most
strange
people...
they wouldn't subscribe yet. They would still check
Yeah.
back. Yeah.
Well, I guess my little sister was one of those people, apparently. She was complaining, why isn't your show on iTunes? And I was like, it's fine, I think. Because I was still getting it through my podcast app, which is through iTunes, because I was manually subscribed, and I didn't realize that if you just looked it up, it wasn't on there. So, yeah, even my own sister wasn't subscribed. She would just listen through iTunes. So,
Yeah.
So anyway, we're back on iTunes. Search us out. Leave us a review. Now that the business has been taken care of, I went hiking yesterday. Warren.
Yeah, you did.
Oh, my God. It was exciting.
Was it?
A couple years ago when I was watching a lot of like Man vs. Wild and Survivor Man and shit like that, I went on this weird bender of I bought like hiking boots and some of those convertible hiking pants that you can zip the legs off of and have stylish little cargo shorts.
Yeah, very cool.
And I was like, I'm going to go hiking. I even bought a knife. I bought a survival knife so I don't know what I was going to do with it, but I just wanted to have a knife. And then I never went hiking. And so
That's usually what happens with those things.
Yeah, it's usually what happens. So then this year I was going through some boxes and found my little boots and stuff. It's like, oh yeah, my hiking boots. I found them next to my cleats that I had bought, which I used maybe 2 or 3 times. And so I wrote Warren a text. Said, hey, why don't you go hiking? He said yes.
Yeah, I did.
And then he bailed at the last minute. But it was still fun. I went with my little brother. We live in an area rife with outdoor opportunities to take advantage of. And there's a place near here called Blanchard Mountain, part of the Chuckanut Mountain Range, actually the last vestige of the Cascades near the Pacific Ocean. The Puget Sound. It's considered part of the Cascades, a little mini range. And Blanchard Mountain hike, there's this Pacific Northwest Trail system that apparently goes from here to Montana. 1,200 miles worth of trails. So conceivably, you could just start walking through the woods and end up in Montana at some point.
You could do that if you head that direction.
There's actually a trail
What's
system.
it called?
It's the Pacific Northwest Trail.
Okay, I've heard of that. Yeah.
So I went with my little bro. I got my boots on, got my knife strapped to my hip, and we went out early. This thing is...
listeners must realize that he didn't go to Alaska or something.
No.
He just went down the freeway a little ways.
It was pretty funny because I was hiking around, and this is a trail that a lot of people go on. It goes up to Oyster Dome. It's you gain 2,000 feet in elevation, and it's about 3.25 miles to the top, and then, that same distance back down again. But there's a lot of people who go on this trail, so I'm hiking up with my knife, and people are like... giving me weird looks the whole time, and it's not enough for somebody to actually say anything because it's conceivably in the right context because people do go up there and go camping and stuff, and so you might have a knife with you to chop firewood or do something. But it was still, I could see people kind of their eyes flick to my hip every once in a while, and I'd go hey, give them a little nod. But anyway, I was very happy with myself because. I do my little workout thing. I do my push-ups and my sit-ups and I make my medicine ball and my curls and dumbbells and things like that. But I do nothing with my lower body whatsoever. Yeah. I don't run. I don't do anything at all cardiovascular. Yeah. And I smoke like a fucking chimney. Yeah. So it's like, how am I gonna deal with this hike? How's this gonna go? It's like I said, 2,000 feet of elevation within a little over 3 miles. So that's a hefty grade. And I'd never been on this hike before, and it was fine. I mean, it was strenuous. There were parts where you're almost on your hands and knees. The grade is so high that you're just like, ugh, like climbing up this rock
I've
face.
been up there a few times, and that's part of that's unpleasant to me.
Yeah, it's, I mean, at the time, and I know people talk about like the runner high, or they hit the wall, but then once you go past the wall, you get this weird surge of adrenaline and energy. And I think that actually happened because on the way up. Yes, it was very steep, but it was the kind of hike where every once in a while it would kind of level out a little bit and you could catch your breath. And I guess when I was reading all the reviews of the hike, people say, it takes between 4.5 and 5 hours to get there and back. We got up there in about an hour 45, and then got back down in an hour. So
there's also another way you can get up there.
Yeah, there's a back way
that's less steep.
Less strenuous and quicker. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I conquered nature. I took nature and I slapped it across the face, put it over my knee, gave it a good spanking. It's like, oh, there's a mountain. Oh, my God, what am I going to do? I just went up the fucking mountain. I climbed
There was a trail, and it was a hill. But yes, you did very well.
It was pretty cool, though, because it was through this second growth forest. And, I'm not some crazy environmentalist or anything. I know that people need wood. Most of the reason this area was settled in the first place is because, look at all these trees. We can chop them down and send them to San Francisco.
San Francisco, yeah. That's after the Great Fire
in 1906. Yeah. So you could see where the old trees were, and you could see evidence of the logging that had taken place 100 years ago. There were like these giant old chains kind of buried in the earth, and some old rail that they had used to, I guess they were shunting the logs down the side of the mountain, because it is a really steep grade. But it was actually kind of sad, because you could see these giant cedar stumps all over the place, because all the forest around here was huge cedar trees. And now, when the cedar trees existed, none of the other stupid little Doug firs and stuff could get in there. But now it's all just smaller coniferous trees. I mean, and they're still probably about almost 100 years old and still fairly large. But I kept imagining what it would have looked like, 120 years ago, when those gigantic cedar trees were all over the place.
Yeah, there's some place around here that still has the old growth. I can't remember where it is.
There's somewhere in Skagit County where they have a little park that they've set up that has the first growth cedar stuff.
You can still see them, and they're gigantic.
They're huge.
Yeah,
you see those pictures. I think in Cedar Woolley, they had this little thing set up where Cedar Woolley is a little weird town.
I think we mentioned it on the last show.
Yes,
we talked about it a lot. Yeah.
And they're proud of their logging heritage. And there's some, I can't remember where it was, maybe in a diner or something there. They had all these old pictures of the loggers from back in the day. And you'll see like 20 guys standing on a stump of a cedar tree.
Yeah.
It's kind of sad when you think about it, because even if we were all to be wiped off the face of the earth, those cedar forests will never grow back, because now there's all those other trees that have gotten in because the cedars are gone.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Can never be back to the way it was before the white man.
Yes, desecrated.
Desecrated. Yeah, exactly. I know. Well, I really intended on going on this hike.
Yeah.
And I was like, this will be a fine hike. But a few years back, IT guy John and our friend Sean and I went on a hike way off in the mountains, farther east up into the mountains like that. And we went on this hike, and it was very, very strenuous on the way up. And I was like, man, that was awful. And then there was this valley that went down to this lake, way down. And I was like, oh, are we going down there? And they were like, I guess. And I was like, this is a terrible idea. And we did it, and we walked down. But then you had to walk all the way back up.
Right.
It was such an awful experience that I was like screaming about how I would never hike again. And I thought this was going to be the time that I was going to turn the corner and maybe get out there and hike again.
Yeah.
I can walk, 20 hours a day.
You walk a lot. Yeah.
But I cannot steep grades, going up a steep grade for a long time hurts my lungs so much.
Yeah.
It's extremely painful.
That's what I was wondering, because I'm the same way. I can walk forever. If it's just flat level ground, I can walk all day, no problem whatsoever. I didn't know how I'd go with the grade, again, because of the smoking and the lack of any sort of cardiovascular exercise whatsoever. But yeah, I was passing everybody. It was fine. And I'm not even sore today. I don't know what the deal is.
Yeah, it's the only thing that bothers me is
Superman.
Yeah. I know it's the theme of the show, is your superiority over every single other creature on Earth.
Yes.
I somehow doubt it, but I do. My lungs never get that much better. That's the other thing about me.
Yeah.
Even when I am in really good shape, it's still. People are always like, you have exercise-induced asthma when they hear me breathing, because it's like your lungs close up a little bit, or the entryway into your lungs close up a little bit when you're like exercising and stuff initially. But that sensation is really painful. And really unpleasant.
I was getting a little of that with like the kind of a headache induced by the breathing, the heavy breathing that you're doing as you're going up the grade and stuff. But it was fine.
Yeah.
It was totally fine. We want to go camping up there at some point. You can camp by Lily Lake. And you can take the back way up to the campground. And I bought a pass so I can park on Washington state land.
Oh, look at you.
For the rest of the year.
Little outdoorsman all of a sudden.
Yeah.
There's also those caves below the ocean down there. They're full of bats.
They're closed, apparently. They had all these
like
signs.
A sign?
Yeah, there's a trail on the way up. There's the bat caves in Bellingham. Well, not in Bellingham, I guess it's in Skagit County. But there's, I guess, the bat species that lives in these caves. It's this field littered with giant boulders because a glacier had been there thousands of years ago. And there's these little caves, and there's the bats that live in there. And I guess the bats are some sort of threatened species, so they don't want people annoying
I was up there
bats.
many years ago with some friends, and some of the more adventurous ones were like, let's go into these caves at night.
Yeah.
And start
Not a good idea. Any sort of lighting?
Well, yeah. Flashlight went out. They're deep in there. Managed to get out.
And suddenly the crazy fanged mole people from the center of the earth came and started picking them off one by one.
If I had every light in the world, I'm not getting in those fucking caves. I'm not getting in a cave where I have to like squeeze through a little area into another area.
I have a twinge of that what's
Claustrophobia?
Claustrophobia. I do like the spelunking, but I wouldn't enjoy it if I had to like worm my way through some tiny passage where I could only get out by backing out.
Yeah, no way.
I would hate that.
I will not. There's nothing there.
I would do it, but I wouldn't like
You
it.
could not pay me enough money to do that.
Yeah.
I'm not crawling into like a rock area unless I'm like saving my life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then you're like, oh crap, my flashlight went out. I guess I have to go backwards to this thing I can't see.
That would be
I
horrible.
went through 15 minutes ago.
Yeah.
There's no way I would ever do that. That's insane to me.
All right, so we'll cross that off the list
Yeah.
if we end up going
No
camping.
spelunking.
So there's a couple things on the list.
Yeah.
But first of all, just for the most fresh memory, the other day. Okay, so every week I talk about being irritated by people.
Yeah.
Sometimes it changes. Sometimes I have some sort of strange feeling
Epiphany.
of brotherhood for
Yeah.
people, and I'm happy for a couple days. I had one of those days, I guess it was Friday, where everyone was being an asshole again. And I don't understand how this sort of aggregates together, or it just compounds upon itself, and maybe one bad experience creates more, and then it turns into this giant clusterfuck of assholes.
Yeah.
But on Friday, I was having this where I was in a perfectly good mood, looking forward to the weekend, looking forward to the hike I was going to be doing the next day, and just person after person, it was like the world was just trying to throw people at me to piss me off and get me in a bad mood. So first of all, it starts out, I always complain about common courtesy, the fact that we live in a society and that we should treat each other a certain way.
Ms. Manners.
So I don't know where I was going. Oh, I was going to Jaeger's at some point, which is a local sporting good place that you can buy fishing licenses and things. So I was
guns,
and guns and knives. And I was going there to get my pass so I'm allowed to park on Washington State Parkland or whatever. And I don't know, it was first thing in the morning. I was going even before I went to work. As I'm entering the door, I open the door and I see that somebody is behind me a few steps. So I stop and hold the door open for them. And it's this couple, kind of this dudish looking guy, like jockey guy, and his kind of his girlfriend who looks like she always smells something unappetizing all the time, just has that look on her face. I hold the door open for them. They walk in the door, don't even look at me at all. It's just, to them, it's like, oh, the door has opened magically.
Yeah.
Because it should, because we're somehow better than everyone else, and we're going to walk in this door. Don't even look at me. And don't say thank you. Don't acknowledge the fact that I opened the door for them in any way. And it's early enough in the day that I'm like, all right, whatever. And I just let it go. And I don't even really think much of it. But it's there.
As well you shouldn't.
It lodged somewhere in my mind.
What do they want them to do? Like, give you a kiss?
Well, they're supposed to go, oh, thank you. When someone holds the door open for them, for you, you're supposed to thank them.
You aren't supposed to do kind acts for, thank yous. You're supposed to do them because they're the right thing.
Well, you do them because they're the right thing. But then also, as the societal contract that we have, if someone holds the door open for you, you thank them. If you hold the door for someone else, you expect a thank you.
All right.
But anyway, it wasn't a big deal.
Yeah,
it's fine.
it's not a big deal. You're right.
Sucked it up.
Okay.
I walk inside, and I didn't know where they sold the parking passes. So there are 3 employees standing around, and there's an old man with a soccer ball that is deflated.
Yeah.
And I want this soccer ball pumped up.
Yeah.
Sir, we don't do that here. We don't have any way of pumping up your soccer ball. He's like, I want this gift for my grandson. It needs to be pumped up. What you going to do with a flat soccer ball?
Yeah.
I'm like, and it's 3 employees. First of all, why does it take 3 employees to help this man? So it goes to this whole rigmarole of them like calling John on the phone.
Yeah.
I don't know who John is. They're like, yeah, this guy wants his soccer ball pumped. And then about 10 minutes of her, gets off the phone. Yeah, we can't do that. And I'm standing there looking expectantly at one of the other employees who's not in any way involved, but they're all just standing around participating in this in some way. None of them will look at me. I say, excuse me, and they put their finger up at one point. because they're all involved in helping this guy with the
very
soccer ball. And
important,
something.
yeah.
I was like, what the hell? I'm like, okay, it's fine. I'm just going to be patient and relax. Finally, the soccer ball man gets shunted away. They don't help him. I don't know what he did. He ended up giving his grandson a flat soccer ball, I'm sure.
We just get a soccer ball that has air in it.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. And so finally, one of the girls turns to me, gives me this vacant cow expression, and I go, yes, I would like to buy a Discover Pass. Do you guys sell those here? What are you discovering? It's a pass for parking on Washington State parks, on parkland. I know you sell hunting licenses and fishing licenses. Do you sell those passes? I don't know what you're talking about. Okay. Where would I go in the store to get the hunting passes or the fishing passes? You said you wanted a Discover Pass. Yes, but you don't know what those are.
Yeah.
Where would you sell the hunting and fishing passes? It's over there. She doesn't point anywhere.
Yeah.
She doesn't acknowledge. She doesn't like give me any sense of direction of where it is. Like, where is it? It's over there. Could you point out where? It's over there with John. I don't know, John. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I just finally was like, okay, I will leave you. I will wander around the store until I see something that looks somewhat like this might be where I can get my thing. I go there, get my pass, whatever. As I'm leaving the store, there's somebody walking out in front of me. I'm 2 steps away. They not only don't hold the door open for me, it seems as though they're purposely trying to slam it shut before I can get to it. So it's that awkward interval where the door is kind of open and I'm trying to reach out to hold the door open, and they go ba-bam and slam it shut, and I have to jump out of the way or else I'd get my arm caught in the door. So now the cumulative effect of these things is starting to work up a little bit. And at the end of the day, there's other bullshit throughout the day, just people being assholes. People keep trying to run into me in their vehicles for some reason. I don't know why this is either. I'm just like, I'm driving around and people just try to change lanes into me, or they just like shoot out of parking spaces in front of me and shit. I don't know what's going on. But anyway, I finally get to the point, the day is over. I'm like, all right, weekend is here. I get out of my truck. I'm in the parking lot of my building. And there's a woman I recognize who lives in the building. She's parking her car at the same time I am. She gets out first. I give her a hello, and she kind of gives me that blank look and doesn't acknowledge the fact that I said hello to her. Then goes, unlocks the door. I'm, again, 4 steps behind her, slams the door in my face. So finally, I'm like, ugh! I get in. She's opening her mailbox. I say, oh, thanks, by the way. And she looks at me with no comprehension at all in her face. I'm like, thanks for holding the door for me.
Jeez.
And she said, you're welcome. And then walked into her apartment. What is that?
I'm more worried about you than I am about everyone else.
Well, you know what? I tried
People
my
pulling
best.
their cars out in front of you, that's getting a little paranoid at that point.
No. I'm not saying they're doing it on purpose. I'm just saying they're completely unaware and
Yeah.
don't give a shit.
Yeah.
I was sitting at a red light at one point, and somebody was trying to make a left turn.
Yeah.
And I'm in my lane. I'm behind the stop line. They pull and like almost hit me.
Yeah.
They come so far into my lane that I had to go into reverse to avoid them hitting me.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? And this door thing, we need to do something about this door thing, because this is really driving me crazy. I always hold doors open for people. Always.
Well, good.
I know. But why don't other people do it?
I don't think it's fine. It doesn't matter. You got to let it go.
Well, we just start letting everything go then.
No, we don't let like extremely serious things go. We do let things like people not nodding at you after you hold the door for them.
It's a cumulative effect. It just shows a disease that's permeated our society. And we live in a pretty friendly place, you know, relative to other places, relative to like New York or LA or something like that.
But you know that the woman that you like confronted at the mailbox on her podcast,
she has no idea.
Right now is just going to be like, some guy was like shouting at me about like holding the door for him, and I didn't even know who he was.
And that's the annoying thing, is that it doesn't matter if I point out the error of her ways, because she has absolutely she's not at all self-aware enough or aware of others enough to even take in the lesson. She has no concept.
The only lesson
of what's
she
going on.
had is that you confronted her oddly at a mailbox.
Yeah, that's fine. I don't care.
But you see how that's like something that's like, to her, was probably very rude.
Yes, but I am right and she's wrong. Therein lies the difference, and therein lies the lesson that she should be learning, but she never will learn.
Oh, that's a rough one.
It's a sad state of affairs.
Celebrity Minute on the Warren and Bradley Show.
All right, Celebrity Minute on the Warren and Bradley Show. First story from Us Magazine. Hillary Clinton biopic. Should Reese Witherspoon or Scarlett Johansson play her? So they're making a movie on Hillary Clinton's early days when she was, I think it takes place in 74, around the Watergate era, where she was kicked off the Watergate case. She was a young lawyer at the time.
Oh, didn't she work for a senator or something?
Something like that. Yeah. It's going to be called Rodham. And the hilarious thing about this story is that some of the actresses being talked about to play the young Hillary Clinton, Reese Witherspoon, Amanda Seyfried, Jessica Chastain, and Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah.
Give me a fucking break.
But I mean, that's just the nature of actresses.
Come on.
They're just like normal looking actresses.
No, these are some of the.
It's just the nature of like movies. Movies are about, if you have a movie about a normal person, you're going to cast someone that's good looking.
We all know that you're putting Johnny Depp or somebody in the place of somebody who's just a.
If they were doing a movie about the podcast, they wouldn't get two guys that were as ugly as us.
They wouldn't be able to find any actors as attractive as us to begin with. Is the problem?
But I mean, it'd be like James Franco and Johnny Depp, and we'd be talking, and people would be like, watch the movie, going like, I know those motherfuckers. Those dudes are not that good looking.
It's just, it almost seems like they're trying a little too hard in this case. I mean, Hillary Clinton, you can debate whether or not she's the smartest woman in the world, as some people have claimed, but
quite the debate.
She's certainly not Jessica Chastain. It's almost like a joke at this point. I don't know.
Oh, can you imagine how much of a like sycophantic, like ridiculous movie this is going to be?
I know.
Oh, it's going to be insufferable.
She's going to be crusading. She's going to be out on her own. Nobody will listen to her.
The woman that changed the world.
Battling sexism.
I know we like to ridicule George W. Bush, and rightfully so for like the nepotism involved in him being the president.
Yeah.
The man should not be president.
Yeah.
Hillary Clinton
should not be
nothing but
president
nepotism.
either. Yeah.
She is where she is because of who her husband was.
Mm-hmm.
That's why she's there. She's not there because she's the smartest woman ever.
I don't know.
Oh, it's just a coincidence that she happened to be married to the man who got to be president for 2 terms.
Yeah.
No, it's the same thing.
Oh, Amanda Bynes. Last week we had the infamous bong throwing out the window.
So this is the problem? Lance Bass is causing Amanda Bynes to be crazy? That's what the headline just told me.
Well, Amanda Bynes, she's still keeping up her crazy tweets. She was released on her own recognizance after the bong incident, but she tweeted recently, I guess she had some crazy tweets about Rihanna, but now they're saying that they were fake. But then she tweeted, I am not crazy, a while ago.
Yeah, you should never have to tweet that.
Which has sparked a lot of debate. I think people debating whether or not she is crazy. I don't see why that.
Unless this is some sort of like Joaquin Phoenix type stunt that she's pulling off, then she's definitely crazy.
This might be just a really ingenious avant-garde sort of performance piece.
That's the other theory, right?
Yeah.
Either she's crazy or she's doing that. What's more likely?
Which seems more likely?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I vote for crazy. But Lance Bass, who apparently she did a movie with at one point. He directed her in a film, I guess?
Yeah, it's classic.
It was a classic film.
Directed her in a film. He's in one of the boy bands, right? He's the gay one.
He's the gay one from, I can't remember if it was NSYNC or one of those.
Yeah, one of them.
He reached out to her on Twitter, and she just slammed him back down. This is from Us Magazine. Apparently, Amanda Bynes doesn't want Lance Bass's pity. The wigged actress lashed out at her former friend via Twitter on May 30th after the NSYNC singer talked about her recent arrest during a Las Vegas radio interview on May 29th. It's one of those situations where obviously there's some mental problems there, and she's not able to see that. No one is able to get to her. I'm actually really scared for her, and I hope someone is able to get to her to give her the help she needs. I guess he produced her movie Love Wrecked. You ever see Love Wrecked?
Maybe Love Director. His sentiments seem pretty in line for the situation.
It seems innocuous,
point, right?
and it seems like someone who may have had some sort of relationship with her in the past,
and now
worried,
sees her in the news going crazy,
reaching out. And he also wrote to her on Twitter and said, "Love and miss you. Here for you if you need me." But Bynes did not appreciate Bass talking about her in the press and responded to his comments via Twitter. I ignored Lance Bass on Twitter, and now he's saying I have mental illness. Sorry you're an ugly ex-boy band member with no talent or career.
Wow. Burning bridges.
Burning bridges left and right. All right, next story. Gene Stapleton dies at the age of 90. Another one that we can put into the category of someone who I thought was already dead.
I was wondering about that.
This is Jean Stapleton, who played Edith Bunker on All in the Family. I've never seen an episode of Archie of All in the Family.
No, I've only seen clips of it on like VH1.
Everyone says it's a classic seminal show.
It's seminal because they took on somewhat issues of the day.
Rob Reiner was a meathead. Sally Field was running around. I don't know.
Apparently, the way people talk about it, you think there was just like abortions happening and interracial love going on constantly.
Lots of interracial love. But yeah, sad. Died 90. I guess it's not that sad. She was 90. Had a nice full life. Thought she was dead already, but apparently I was wrong.
Well, I mean, she didn't like die in like a hot air balloon accident or something, right? She died.
Not that I know. Let's see.
Then it's tragic.
Read through the story. Stapleton received 8 Emmy nominations and died in a hot air balloon accident.
Oh, well, there you go. It's a tragedy.
Next story. Lou Reed recovering after liver transplant. From the Associated Press.
Sounds about right.
Lou Reed's wife says the rock icon is recovering after a life-saving liver transplant, according to an interview published Saturday in a British newspaper. Laurie Anderson told the Times of London that Reed was dying before the operation in April at Ohio's Cleveland Clinic. She says 71-year-old Reed is not back to full strength, but he's already working and doing Tai Chi. It's a new life for him. I'm surprised that it took this long for his liver to go bad. I know he's been supposedly sober for quite a few years now.
What's interesting with these like rockers of that era, they either died when they were rocking out,
or they're just this
forever.
Weird mummified corpse that's like invincible, or somehow you look at Keith Richards. And I guess he's supposedly sober now, too, even though he still sounds like just completely gone anytime I hear him interviewed. But if you took the amount of drugs that Keith Richards has taken and just distributed it, I don't know, it would keep pretty much any smackhead in the green for years and years and years and years and years. A whole methadone clinic. And he's just this weird, like, mummified, kind of gnarly, leathery, I don't know what it is. The drugs have acted as some sort of chemical preservative or something and made him completely impervious to death.
Oh, it just shows you, I mean, life's unfair.
I guess. Yeah.
I mean, let's say...
Well, I guess the common denominator here is money, maybe.
Well, no, money helps keep you alive, and I'm sure if I went downstairs in Bumptown here and tried to score some, like, smack or some crack or something, the first time I used it, I probably dropped dead.
Probably,
yeah. And it's just like, that's just the way it goes.
Yeah. Warren, you alerted me to this story. Vigilante traffic enforcer Keyshawn Johnson reportedly chased down Justin Bieber.
It's a confusing story.
This is from extramustard.com? Oh,
no, it's from Sports Illustrated.
SportsIllustrated.com.
I think Extra Mustard is sort of their, like, irreverent part of their site.
Okay. Justin Bieber's had a rough go of things over the last few months. His pet monkey was seized by German customs.
No, we covered that.
He drew international ire for his hope that Anne Frank would have been a believer. And he allegedly spit in the face of a neighbor who complained about Bieber's reckless driving. Now TMZ is reporting that Biebs is being investigated for another reckless driving incident. This time after 2 people in his Calabasas, California community called the cops while the singer whipped around in his Ferrari. From the sound of it, one of the tipsters was former NFL receiver and current ESPN analyst Keyshawn Johnson, who got into a Prius speed chase with the singer. So apparently Keyshawn had just left a party Sunday right inside of his exclusive gated community in Calabasas with his children in the car, no less, when Bieber zoomed by in his Ferrari at breakneck speeds. Yeah! I can just imagine his... I'm imagining the obnoxious little kid from the first Star Wars prequel.
Yes.
The young Anakin Skywalker in his pod racing days.
Zoom!
Neato! Wicked!
This is the part where the story gets weird. Didn't he then go home and drop his kids off?
Yes. We're told Keyshawn was furious, feeling Justin could have killed someone. So he brought his kids home, then chased after the singer in his Prius.
How can you chase after someone after you bring the kids home?
Maybe he knows. Maybe he
must
was just,
know where he lived.
Imagine him just like going in
house.
circles around the neighborhood or something.
Maybe. I guess. Yeah, that's the part that I don't understand.
When Keyshawn got to Bieber's pad, he blocked Justin's Ferrari in the driveway and got out of his car to confront Justin face to face. But Justin ran inside of his house and refused to come out.
Of course he did.
There's several elements of the story. First of all, the fact that Keyshawn Johnson is driving a Prius.
Yes.
It's kind of sad. I know that as a youngster, if I had a Ferrari when I was 19, I might rage around the neighborhood a little bit in my Ferrari. It's kind of, if you have, I don't know what kind of Ferrari it was. I'm imagining it was a 458 Italia, which is a beautiful piece of machinery.
Yeah.
capable of going in excess of 200 miles an hour. You want to
We'll take it to the track,
wring
maybe.
the cobwebs out of that thing every once in a while.
Go to the salt flats or something
Yeah.
and run around.
Salt flats are deteriorating, apparently, Warren. A lot of drag racers are wringing their hands over this.
They're not deteriorating because of the drag racers, are they?
I don't know. I think it's just natural erosion. They're going to have to get like a giant container ship of Morton's salt and just like dump it on them.
We have to recreate the
Yeah, I'm not
environment
sure
the way
how
it
that
was.
works.
Yeah.
Finally, Miley Cyrus, Liam Hemsworth are finally over. The engagement is done.
I didn't
We had-
see this on the Us Weekly. At
Yes,
my
this is
girlfriend's
from the
apartment.
usmagazine.com website. We reported a few weeks ago about how Liam's older brothers, Luke and Chris, had
Yes.
staged an intervention because they did not like his relationship with Miley Cyrus, and I guess Liam has finally called off the engagement. Things are definitely over, one insider tells us of the ex-lovebirds. The split comes after months of back and forth between the two, including a recent public display of affection at a party at the Can't Be Tamed singer's LA home. Prior to that, the couple of nearly 4 years took some time apart and put their wedding plans on hold while Hemsworth regrouped in his native Australia.
I know we've talked about this Hemsworth thing before.
Yeah.
So what has Liam been in?
Okay. Liam has been in The Hunger Games.
Is he like the star of the Hunger Games?
No, he was the dude who Jennifer
see it.
Lawrence liked first, I guess. I don't know.
That
He
sounds
wasn't in
confusing.
the movie very much,
Okay.
I don't think.
So he's not like been a star.
As far
of
as I
anything?
know, he hasn't really been in much, but he's just talked about in the news all the time.
Because I did watch the new Red Dawn the other day.
yeah.
And
I
that
heard
one
that
had
was awful.
Chris Hemsworth.
That had Chris. That was made years ago, though, and it just got released recently.
So I'm pretty sure I got nailed down who Chris Hemsworth is. at
Chris
this point.
Hemsworth has definitely been in more and is a bigger star than Liam. But Liam is was dating Miley Cyrus, so that's why he gets talked
And who's the
about
other
all
one
the
that's
time.
not Chris and Liam?
A Hemsworth or the other actor?
There's another Hemsworth, right?
Well, there's a Luke, but I don't know if he's done anything.
Okay, he's just around.
I guess.
You don't think he's been in movies?
I don't know.
Okay, that can help me not be so
yeah,
confused.
but you always confuse them with Channing Tatum, too.
I think Channing Tatum and Chris Hemsworth, I think, are the two that I was really getting confused.
Okay.
And I totally think I'm like figuring that out at this point.
Are you okay now?
I think I'm going to be okay. The Red Dawn movie was pretty great.
Really? I heard it was awful.
Well, I mean, of course it's awful.
The
But
original was great.
Well,
I mean, ridiculous, but
well, I
great.
know this movie was ridiculous, but I mean,
Yeah.
for what it was fine.
Were they still the Wolverines?
Oh, yeah, they were the Wolverines. Because that was the high school football team.
Oh, right.
And then they spray painted Wolverines around, and they were
Yeah.
like making, improvised explosive devices and blowing up these North Koreans and stuff.
I love the fact that it was North Koreans. Come on.
It's a little bit, it's a little bit
They
of a
have
stretch.
military technology from the 1950s. They're really going to stage
Well, I think they
invasion
were
of the
working
US.
with the Chinese. I think the Russians got
Well,
involved.
and that's what it was. The original Red Dawn was the Russians in league with the Cubans, with all the other communists, basically.
Yeah.
And this one, I guess, originally when they filmed the movie, it was going to be the Chinese were the main antagonists in the film. But then
You can't do that.
They realized that there's a huge
Chinese market.
Chinese market, so they decided to make the North Koreans. the main
So
antagonists.
at one point, because this insurgency, these Wolverines are just fucking things up in Spokane.
Yeah.
It's set in Spokane.
Yeah.
Although Spokane suddenly has a gigantic skyline with huge buildings, which don't exist in real Spokane.
No.
But so they bring in this Russian guy, and they're like watching this presentation, and they're like, "Oh crap, he's this Russian counterinsurgency expert." So they know the Russians are involved,
Right.
And then of course Tom Cruise's son is in the movie. Speaking
yeah.
of nepotism, and his father is the mayor or something, but his father's black, of course, because he's black. It's all very confusing.
What?
You know about his adopted son?
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Right.
He's in the movie.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's weird.
yeah. It's all very.
Yeah, because Tom Cruise is gay, so he's never actually
Well,
sired
Siri.
the father. Oh yeah, Siri. Well, we don't know that for sure.
Looks like him.
Maybe.
I think he made that baby. They made it somehow.
Well, it's not that hard. Turkey baster. I've read up on the science. It's
Good.
not that involved. All right, I think that's enough time for the Celebrity Minute section of this
Okay.
week's Warren and Bradley Show.
This has been Celebrity Minute on the Warren and Bradley Show.
Okay, I have a cell phone. It's my only phone. Don't
Yeah.
have a landline. My number is not published anywhere. So usually if I get a phone call, it's from someone I know.
Yeah.
If it's not someone I know,
It's a homeless person.
it's a homeless person, or it's some telemarketer that somehow got my number. I don't know how
Yeah.
this happens. But anyway, if it's a local area code, I figure it must be someone I know. But if I don't recognize the number, I do kind of a weird hello. I'm not sure.
Hello? Like you're asking a question?
No, it's like a very...
Brusque? Like, hello?
did you ever see Seven Brides for Seven Brothers?
It's been a long time.
It's a 50s musical. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's a bunch of weird backwoodsmen kidnap some women and bring them up to their
Yeah.
cabin, and eventually the women fall in love with them. It's great. But one of the main characters, he has this very jocular way of speaking. It's like, hey, how you doing? kind of voice.
Yeah.
And so the other day, I got a phone call. I look at the number, don't recognize it, but it's a local area code. So I'm like, okay, maybe it's a friend, maybe it's my brother, maybe it's somebody, but I don't know for sure. So when I answer, I go, hello? And there's this woman's voice, very tremulous, very sort of nervous sounding.
Yeah.
Sounds maybe late middle age, can't tell for sure, but she says, hello, I'd like to speak to Carrie, please. And I go, I'm sorry, you must have the wrong number. And I hang up the phone. Rings back about 5 minutes later.
Yeah.
Same number. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to have to tell this woman again that she has the wrong number. Answer the phone. She's like, yes, we spoke earlier, and I need to speak to my daughter, Carrie. I'm like, well, I'm sorry. Carrie's not here. There's no Carrie here. And she goes, who are you? I go, got the wrong number. And I hang up the phone again. 5 minutes later, rings back. Now, I want you to put me through to my daughter. I'm like, okay. So now something's going on here. And immediately
I think your jocular attitude is making her think you're, like, dismissing her. Not taking her seriously.
Well, how many times can you tell somebody they have the wrong number? But then I started realizing she thinks I'm lying to her.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Yeah. But... So my brain immediately comes up with a scenario where, okay, Carrie is their young teenage daughter. Maybe she's run away from home. Maybe she's become involved
you
in
always do
drugs
this.
or prostitution or something like that.
And then you start like, oh, she's so attractive. And then it gets weird, yeah.
So I decide I'm going to drop the Seven Brides for Seven Brothers voice and actually try to engage this woman and explain to her that I am not, I'm not Carrie, obviously. I don't know Carrie. So she says, this is the number that Carrie gave me. She sent me this number in an email, and I would like to speak to her. And I went, okay, I don't know Carrie. I think you have the wrong number. Either whoever Carrie is wrote down the wrong number, or you misread the number. She's like, I looked at it again. This is the number. And she read back the number. I will not read the number now.
Yeah.
I'll give out the number. I said, well, I'm sorry, but this is my number.
Yeah.
I've had this number for years and years. It's a cell phone. Who are you? I didn't want to tell her my name for some reason.
You don't have to do that.
I don't have to. I said, listen, I'm sorry, but this is the wrong number. And I'm going to go now. And I hung up the phone. About half an hour. This is all while I'm working, too.
Yeah.
So it's kind of irritating. I'm usually in the middle of something, and then the phone rings, and I have, like, gloves on and shit all over me, so I have to, like, take my gloves off and do all this crap. And I could just let it go to message, but I want to impress upon them not to call me anymore.
Yes, that's right.
Well, because then it's just like message after message. So finally, it rings again, and I answer it, and it's a man this time.
Yeah.
No preamble whatsoever.
Listen, you son of a bitch, I want to talk to my daughter.
Oh, so here we go. Now the scenario is really coming
Yeah.
into my little scenario is coming into its own. Their little daughter Carrie, sweet innocent Carrie, she got involved with some ruffian, some
Yeah.
asshole,
Somebody probably like you.
some rapscallion.
Yeah.
He got her involved in drugs. I was thinking of kind of a traffic sort of scenario where like Topher Grace and
and she ends up locked in that.
yeah, she's being humped
drug
by some
dealers.
middle-aged dude. Like he's
and Michael
bursting
Douglas
in
has to show up. Yeah. Michael Douglas is going to show up at your door looking for Carrie.
with Topher Grace in tow, like
Cowering
I don't
behind
know.
him.
So I'm like, oh God, what have I gotten mixed up in here? So I don't know if Carrie gave them just like made up this number out of whole cloth and it just happened to be my number. Of course it happened to be my number.
Yeah.
And maybe they were in some sort of contact. They've been trying to get a hold of Carrie. She finally wrote an email to get him off her back. Like, oh, you can call me here. And it's just my number. It's this fake number.
Scrawled on the walls of the homeless shelters around town. She thought she'd use that one.
And so I've got this angry middle-aged man who thinks that I'm some asshole who has stolen his daughter away.
Yeah.
So what grounds do I have to convince him otherwise? When, because I'm sure this is something where they got their dander up. They've been thinking about this forever. This is like the break they needed to go locate their daughter.
Yeah.
And what can I say to convince them that I'm not the person? And so I get let me speak to my daughter, you son of a bitch. And I go, okay, I don't know what your situation is. I don't know what's going on, but I can assure you, I do not know your daughter. Your daughter is not here. This is a cell phone. I'm at work right now. I'm not anyone who knows anything about anything you're talking about. It's like, we've contacted the police. We've contacted blah, blah, blah. You need to let me speak to my daughter. I'm like, I don't know your daughter.
Yeah.
And it goes on for about 5 minutes where he's got this righteous anger.
Yeah.
He's going to show me what's up. He's going to tell me what's going on. He's like, tell me your name. I want your name. And like all this shit. Like, I'm not telling you. And of course that makes it worse.
This is the other thing. This is why these things happen to you, though. You know that, right? Because you continue to engage with this person for 5 minutes. There's nothing you can do for this person.
The thing is, if I just say, I'm not the person, hang up, it'll just keep ringing and ringing and ringing and ringing and ringing.
Then you can block it, right?
I guess. But then there's part of me who feels bad for these people.
Yeah. But you cannot do anything for them.
Yes, but see, if I just hung up and just never answered their calls and blocked their calls,
think it was a good
they would
lead.
forever think that the person who had my number was the person who stole their daughter away. And maybe if they realize that this avenue is closed to them, they will go to some other avenue and try to pursue that.
Yeah.
And so finally I'm like, what can I tell you to convince you that I know nothing about your daughter? And this is what he came up with. Which, if you didn't believe anything else I said, I don't know why he's going to believe this.
Yeah.
But he said, what color are her eyes and her hair?
What? You're like, I don't know?
I say, I don't know what color her eyes and her hair are. And he goes, okay. Does she have a tattoo? And I say, I don't know. She has a tattoo of a heart on her ankle. I go, okay. And then he says, okay, maybe you don't know Carrie.
That's insane.
I say, no, I don't. I'm glad that you finally believe me.
Yeah.
And he hangs up the phone.
Oh, Carrie, if you're out there,
Okay, so Carrie.
stay away from this crazy parents.
Well, I don't know. I mean, they were doing what they could,
This
I guess.
is the thing about runaways.
Yeah. Usually there's a reason they run away. Almost
There's a reason
always
they run
there's
away.
abuse.
As we've come to find out over time, people are like, oh, these runaways. We've got runaways everywhere.
Yeah.
They just go back to their healthy, happy nuclear home. Everything will be fine,
Right.
and they can just get back into school. They're usually trying to get away from some awful abuse or some kind of
Usually,
dysfunctional situation in their home.
I mean, I guess the Hollywood version is there is the deliberate stranger who comes around and lures their daughter into some sort of underworld. I mean, that was the Traffic situation. It wasn't an abusive family, but maybe a sort of absent father, not really involved in her life.
Michael Douglas was not involved enough in Julia Stiles' life.
No.
Definitely.
It wasn't Julia Stiles. Remember we were talking about that before?
Yeah, it was.
She looks a lot like Julia Stiles, but it's not Julia Stiles.
It is Julia Stiles.
It isn't. I swear to you.
Stop the podcast. Stop it.
All right, we're going to take a break. We're going to look this up, and I will prove to Warren that it's not Julia Stiles.
Okay, it's just somebody that looks like Julia
In your
Stiles.
face, motherfucker.
I would have
You were wrong.
I would have gone to court,
It's-
and if they would have asked me that question under oath, I would have said it was Julia
Yeah,
Stiles.
I was just speaking to I think it was my brother or something. We were talking about the movie, and he was convinced it was Julia Stiles. I'm like John the Baptist running around. It's not Julia Stiles.
Did you never think it was Julia Stiles? Or
I
did you
think,
just-
I
did
think
you-
in my mind I thought it was too, but I'd never actually seen the movie, and then I watched it a few months ago. And I was like, that's not Julia Stiles. That's Erica Christensen.
I wonder if when I watched the movie, I knew it wasn't Julia Stiles,
And then it
I
just
said
became
because
Julia
it looked like
Stiles.
Julia Stiles,
Yeah.
or if I thought it was Julia Stiles the entire time.
I don't know. I mean, there's definitely, I could see why you would mistake her for Julia Stiles, but it's Erica Christensen.
Sorry, Erica.
All right, so we got a little off topic there, but I guess that could wrap up this little story. Put a bow on that. Alrighty, so a couple weeks ago, I talked about my new diet. It's not really a diet because I'm not trying to lose weight or anything, but
It's
just
a diet. It's just what you eat.
Yeah, my new eating habits. But diet has a connotation of like, oh, I have a new diet, and that means that you're, only eating raspberries. Or
It means
something.
it implies you're doing it for a reason.
Yeah,
That's what you're thinking.
but I had changed my eating habits, and I had mentioned how if there were just some sort of monkey chow or human chow or slop that was completely nutritionally balanced, that I could just eat the same thing every day, I would gladly partake in that.
Yeah.
One of our listeners, good friend IT guy John, heard this, did some research, and he found I can't remember what crowdsourcing website it was. It wasn't on Kickstarter, but it was another one of those websites where there was a product called Soylent, which I think we're all familiar with, the classic Charlton Heston movie, Soylent Green.
Yes.
I don't know how long they're going to be able to keep this name for this product, by the way. Soylent? You'd think that would be copywritten somehow.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, there's some geeks who go to engineering school who are...
There are lots of them.
Yeah, well, these particular geeks are trying to perfect a nutritionally balanced slurry for people
Yes.
to ingest. One of the guys actually went to this Gawker story recently. They've been getting a lot of press because their crowdsourcing site, I think they raised $200,000 in like the first day. It's
Apparently, this crowdsourcing thing, everyone just gets all the money they want whenever they
guess.
want it.
And it's gone way above that now, and they still have over 20 days left. From Gawker.com, one of the makers of Soylent actually came into the Gawker offices and gave them a little sample. When 24-year-old software developer Rob Reinhardt, who I guess is the main geek, stopped by Gawker's office last Wednesday afternoon, he hadn't had a bite of solid food in 4 days, but was brimming with energy. Some of his pep was probably due to the fact that the previous day he launched a hugely successful crowdfunding campaign for Soylent, the liquid food replacement he invented and largely subsists on. He had received over $200,000 in a matter of hours, but the rest he'd say was science. So basically, Reinhardt was an engineering student, like me, annoyed by having to prepare food for himself.
Well,
Thinks
at
that
least he's doing engineering.
yeah, at least he's got something to actually
You're just
devote
on
his extra time
Minecraft,
to.
like getting quartz.
I just find it. I find defecating annoying, urinating annoying. Any sort of bodily function I find irritating. I wish I didn't have to bother.
Yeah.
Food is one of those things. I don't care about food. I just want, if I could just walk around with an IV in my arm all the time.
You want to get rid of sleep, too?
I like sleep. I love sleep. Sleep is great.
That wastes way more time.
I know, but it's not wasting because I enjoy it. But I don't really enjoy the food or the shitting or the pissing.
But you're
so-
unconscious.
Well, that's why I enjoy it. That's a whole other topic.
We're not going to get into Brad's
No.
reasons to be dead right
Yeah.
now. Okay.
But basically, he's like, oh, what year do we live in? We're still cooking.
It's 2013, Reinhardt.
We're still going out and buying these products. We're cooking them, and then we have to clean dishes
I
afterwards.
still
when
can't get a
we're ingesting these
girlfriend.
things.
Yeah.
And so he decided to research exactly what the body needs to subsist upon, and started getting pretty much the chemical components of human nutrition. And he, I don't know, put it all in a blender, made this weird slurry. Kind of looks like semen. And
Put it all in a blender? Okay.
yeah, apparently.
Does he work for Jamba Juice? What's going on?
No.
This is what's happening?
And so to test it out, he lived off of it for 3 months.
Yeah.
Eating only this or drinking only this. I guess he said after a while he had some sort of sulfur deficiency, so he added sulfur to the mix. I don't know if sulfur. I guess he needs sulfur.
Salt.
Yeah, no, not salt. That's sodium.
Sulfur.
Sulfur. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. But anyway, he's been tweaking the formula. Other people have been tweaking the formula, and now it's on a crowdsource website. And IT guy John was so intrigued by this that he
Yeah.
donated to that site and said that he now is going to have a 1 month supply of Soylent, and he wants me to take it for
Yeah.
a month.
I think this is a good plan.
I think it's a good plan too. I will do it. I'm skeptical as to whether or not it'll ever actually be produced and sent out to people, but
Yeah.
supposedly it's going to happen in August. We'll see. But I just found the whole idea interesting. I mean, we already have Ensure for people recovering from horrible
Oh, yeah.
illnesses.
I see a lot of Ensure at my work, yeah.
Yeah, really? People are just drinking Ensure? Oh, no. Yeah.
It's not my coworkers.
Okay.
Just like they
I
go
thought
to the
people are just
soda
like,
machine and
"Oh, it's
buy an
time for
Ensure
lunch."
and slam
Yeah.
it. Yeah, yeah. The elderly.
The elderly, yeah.
Yeah.
Who need a nutritionally balanced supplement, basically. So I don't know really what's that different about this. I guess it's because it's being tackled instead of by a food manufacturer, by some geeks.
Well, it's
that,
probably
like-
because it's like they're trying to. I mean, the people who drink Ensure aren't planning on drinking Ensure
Right.
for 20 years. You
Right.
know, something they have to do to get their vitamins and minerals
Yeah.
and stuff. There's a lot of weird things that your body needs, like iodine.
Yeah.
Right. Or else
magnesium.
weird things happen to you. You start to like die, or you don't want to get any vitamin C. You got scurvy.
Right.
So, I mean, they're just trying to like make sure they hit every single one of those targets. And so you'll be fine.
The interesting thing about this product, I mean, I don't know. Do they need FDA approval? Can you just sell?
Well, that's my concern about this. It's like, I don't know if you can start sending out claiming that your food supplement is the only food someone needs for a month.
Yeah, I'm not sure how that works.
So
and
legally,
if people start
like
dropping
really
dead too,
yeah.
that could be an issue. But I will definitely try it. I don't care. But to me, this is great. I don't mind. I would not mind. It's apparently it doesn't taste great and looks kind of gross. Weird texture.
Yeah,
sloppy.
I bet. Yeah.
Like a glass of semen, basically, is how Gawker described it.
Maybe Reinhardt's just beating off all the time. It's the perfect food.
Iron and protein.
Yeah.
But I'm just wondering, I mean, they raised a huge amount of money in a very short amount of time, but I can't imagine that I am normal and my opinions on food and feelings towards food are normal.
I think it's unusual.
And that's why, my brother and I were talking about this, like, why hasn't this product already been invented?
There's a demand for this product.
Exactly. Because
Yeah.
people like food. They
Yes.
like to eat food. They like preparing food. They like dreaming and fantasizing about food and planning on what they're going to eat for dinner.
It's
and people
one of
get
the
all crazy.
pleasures of life.
Yeah.
Food.
I don't really get it, but I guess there are enough people out in the world who just, because it does put you in mind of that silver suited future where everyone is sitting there in their silver suits and they have their little, like, they just pull a lever on their wall or press a little glowing button and this like slurry comes out into some sort of strange glowing cup and they suck it down and that's their nutrition for the day. And
Then what do they do? That's the thing about these futures, right?
I don't know.
Then it turns into Logan's Run and they're like running around doing all sorts of things. It's like, what are you going to do then? Oh, I have all the nutrition I need. I have as many silver suits as I could possibly use for an entire lifetime. You're in some air-conditioned room, just like staring at the wall, being like, I don't know. And then things get really weird.
Well, there's
at that
always
point.
something impressive and futuristic going on, and we can't imagine what that might be. But they've tackled nutrition. They've gotten that out of the way, so now they can focus on other things, like eradicating the population after the age of 35 or whatever weird futuristic thing.
Yeah, exactly. Then you get into weird shit like that.
So you're saying that the fact that we think so much about food means that we can't go into our strange doomsday scenarios because we're concentrating too much on feeding ourselves.
Well,
if we were to solve the food problem and everyone was just drinking Soylent, then we would turn our attentions to other things that might be more destructive.
My point is like, what is the fucking point of being alive?
I don't know.
Is it just being alive and then sitting in your silver suit and being like, look at me, I'm alive.
That's what science fiction has taught us.
I've done it.
Well, that's the weird thing about what the future supposedly is us conquering all natural instincts. And it's like, yeah, what is the point of being alive? That is a very good question. The point of being alive is to feed yourself and clothe yourself and perhaps to reproduce. It used to be this daily struggle for survival, and the future has become this thing where we have completely whipped survival. So then what else is next?
Just
I guess that's when our
slurry.
brains start swelling and we start communicating telepathically or something. I don't know. That's once we've whipped all this other shit. But, I mean, you, for instance, you would not want to live off Soylent?
No. Food's good.
Yeah. That doesn't appeal to you at all?
No.
Would you maybe...
This is the other thing. It's like saying, like, you know what? I've got a great solution for you. Mm-hmm. We don't need to have sex to have babies anymore.
Yeah.
Because, we can use that turkey baster you referred to earlier in the show. It'll take all that time you've wasted having sex. You don't have to worry about that anymore. Now you can sit in your silver suit and stare at the wall.
And that makes perfect sense to normal people, because normal people enjoy sex and food. And I like food, but I don't like food anywhere near as much as I like sex. So I'd say, no, I don't want to replace sex because I love sex.
Yeah.
But food, I'd be like, yeah, that's fine, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it all depends on where you're coming at the issue. But you're right. For most people, food and sex are almost inexorably entwined in a weird way.
Well, it's all about, it's the things you need to do to stay alive.
Yeah. And it's a deep-seated instinct
you eat food
within
because
us.
it's like you get nutrition from that.
Exactly.
You have sex to keep the species going. You sleep because that's something your body needs to do to recover.
And we've turned them into things that they're not necessarily useful. I mean, most people aren't having sex to have a kid now. They're having sex recreationally. Most people are eating recreationally as well. Yes. Which is interesting. I guess
would definitely take eating out of the realm of recreation.
Right. And maybe that's a good... Maybe if... I mean, this will never happen because people love food so much, but I'm sure obesity would go way down if the only thing you had to eat was this slurry.
If you had to drink some cum, and that was your only choice to get nutrition, people would be very thin at that point. The reason their obesity exists is because the food's so yummy.
Yeah.
People just like, But I mean, the reason we have a lot of like, kids running around that nobody wanted is because sex is so great too,
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I'll give it a try.
I think it's good. And I don't think you should ever have sex again either.
If I turned into some weird, wasted, stringy mummy person. I don't know.
Yeah, it's really bad if like this happens and then they send it out and the first trial run, everyone dies because they
Imagine they wouldn't die. He claims that he lived off of it for 3 months exclusively, and now he uses it mostly, but he still supplement, like he'll go out with friends to eat or something like that, but he uses it for most of his meals.
Oh, just because for fun.
Yeah,
okay.
Exactly.
Not because he feels like nutritionally he feels like wasted away, so he needs to go
Supposedly,
get some like a
he has
onion or something.
more energy, better cognition, he can work out longer. Which is weird to me. I can't imagine a liquid diet allowing you to really build a lot of muscle or anything. But I guess if it's just the component nutritional things that your body needs, we don't need all the shit that's packed up in, I guess. That just gets shat out. It's sucking all those nutrients out. So I guess it makes sense.
When your body's processing it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Yeah.
You're using energy to like burn the energy you have.
Exactly.
Like with celery, right? It's supposed to burn more energy digesting it than it actually is.
It's just water and fiber. I
Yeah. He's still working out though. Get working on that.
Yeah.
Get me some slurry that I can just drink and I'll be in incredible shape.
Yeah.
I'll drink that cum.
I wouldn't mind that.
Yeah, that's fine. Because, that's eliminating something that's like...
Drink that cum right
I mean,
from
if
the
you
source.
can, like, give me the physical results of, like, a hike up to the top of the Oyster Dome, and I don't have to, like, breathe really hard for, like, I'm going to vomit, I'll take that cum. The cum that's replacing my delicious meal tonight, you can keep that cum, buddy.
Different cum for different people.
Yeah, Reinhardt.
All right. I think that's enough time for the Warren and Bradley Show this week. I have been one of your hosts, Bradley Victor.
I'm your host, Warren Van.
Saying...
Keep your cum, Reinhardt.
This has been the Warren and Bradley Show, brought to you by Warren Van and Bradley Victor. For podcast news and information, like the show on Facebook at facebook.com/Warren and Bradley. Follow the show on Twitter at Warren and Brad. Subscribe on iTunes and leave a review. For episode archives and episode pictures, go to warrenandbradley.com, and to contact the show, write to podcast at warrenandbradley.com.
A couple years ago when I was watching a lot of like Man vs. Wild and Survivor Man and shit like that, I went on this weird bender of I bought like hiking boots and some of those convertible hiking pants that you can zip the legs off of and have stylish little cargo shorts.
Yeah, very cool.
And I was like, I'm going to go hiking. I even bought a knife. I bought a survival knife so I could, I don't know what I was going to do with it, but I just wanted to have a knife. And then I never went hiking. And so
that's usually what happens with those things.
Yeah, it's usually what happens. So then this year I was going through some boxes and found my little boots and stuff. It's like, oh yeah, my hiking boots. I found them next to my cleats that I had bought, which I used maybe 2 or 3 times. And so I wrote Warren a text, said, hey, why don't you go hiking? He said yes.
Yeah, I did.
And then he bailed at the last minute. But it was still fun. I went with my little brother. We live in an area rife with outdoor opportunities to take advantage of. And there's a place near here called Blanchard Mountain, part of the Chuckanet Mountain Range, actually the last vestige of the Cascades near the Pacific Ocean. The Puget Sound. It's considered part of the Cascades, a little mini range. And Blanchard Mountain hike, there's this Pacific Northwest Trail system that apparently goes from here to Montana. 1,200 miles worth of trails. So conceivably, you could just start walking through the woods and end up in Montana at some point.
You could do that if you just head that direction.
There's actually a trail
What's
system.
it called?
It's the Pacific Northwest Trail.
Okay, I've heard of that. Yeah.
So I went with my little bro. I got my boots on, got my knife strapped to my hip, and we went out early. This thing is
knife. Listeners must realize that he didn't go to Alaska or something.
No.
He just went down the freeway a little ways.
It was pretty funny because I was hiking around, and this is a trail that a lot of people go on. It goes up to Oyster Dome. It's you gain 2,000 feet in elevation, and it's about 3.25 miles to the top, and then, that same distance back down again. But there's a lot of people who go on this trail, so I'm hiking up with my knife, and people are like, giving me weird looks the whole time. And it's not enough for somebody to actually say anything, because it's conceivably in the right context, because people do go up there and go camping and stuff. And so you might have a knife with you to, I don't know, chop firewood or do something. But it was still, I could see people kind of, their eyes flick to my hip every once in a while, and I'd go, hey, give them a little nod. But anyway, I was very happy with myself because, I do my little workout thing. I do my push-ups and my sit-ups, and I make my medicine ball and my curls and dumbbells and things like that. But I do nothing with my lower body whatsoever. Yeah. I don't run. I don't do anything at all cardiovascular. Yeah. And I smoke like a fucking chimney. Yeah. So it's like, how am I gonna deal with this hike? How's this gonna go? It's, like I said, 2,000 feet of elevation within a little over 3 miles. So that's a hefty grade. And I'd never been on this hike before, and it was fine. I mean, it was strenuous. There were parts where you're almost on your hands and knees. The grade is so high that you're just like, ugh, like climbing up this rock
I've
face.
been up there a few times, and that's part of that's unpleasant to me.
Yeah, I mean, at the time, and I know people talk about like the runner high, or they hit the wall, but then once you go past the wall, you get this weird surge of adrenaline and energy. And I think that actually happened, because on the way up, yes, it was very steep, but it was the kind of hike where every once in a while it would kind of level out a little bit and you could catch your breath. And I guess when I was reading all the reviews of the hike, people say, it takes between 4.5 and 5 hours to get there and back. We got up there in about an hour 45. If you're a subscriber, I resubmitted it in such a way that you're still subscribed. So we didn't lose our subscribers, but now it's as if we're a brand new show on iTunes, even though there's, 78 episodes or something on there. But all our ratings are gone. Reviews. So now we're starting from scratch.
The
basically.
Reviews are gone?
The reviews are gone.
Oh, those precious reviews.
So any of you out there who are fans of the show, who enjoy the show, who want to make Warren and I happy, you should get on iTunes. I changed the link on our website now on warrenandbradley.com. If you hit that listen in iTunes button, it will bring you to our iTunes show page now. Leave us a review. We need to build back up our high rating. We had a perfect 5-star rating at one point. So let's get that back. Go to iTunes. I can't remember what the feed ID is now, but if you just go to our website, warrenandbradley.com, hit on the Listen in iTunes button, and leave us a nice review. And tell your friends. If people are like, what happened to that Warren and Bradley show? What's going on? Tell them that it's...
It seems unlikely with the few listeners we have that they're going to just randomly cross into each other,
it's possible.
And ask each other about the show.
It's very possible.
So does that mean the people that were just manually downloading every time are just going to be shocked with 10 shows dropping on them all at once?
Yeah.
Oh, that's going to be great for them.
If they bother, maybe I'll check back to see if the show is back. I think
it's
most
strange
people...
they wouldn't subscribe yet. They would still check back. Yeah.
Well, I guess my little sister was one of those people, apparently. She was complaining, why isn't your show on iTunes? And I was like, it's fine, I think. Because I was still getting it through my podcast app, which is through iTunes, because I was manually subscribed, and I didn't realize that if you just looked it up, it wasn't on there. So, yeah, even my own sister wasn't subscribed. She would just listen through iTunes. So anyway, we're back on iTunes. Search us out. Leave us a review. Now that the business has been taken care of, I went hiking yesterday. Warren.
Yeah, you did.
Oh, my God. It was exciting. But actually, recently, I haven't really kept you apprised of this, Warren, because I keep all the technical things,
Yeah.
That's my forte. Well, I don't know if it's my forte, but it's what I deal with. For the last, I'd say 10 episodes, we have not been on iTunes. I started noticing, I don't know when it was, episode 66 or so, new episodes weren't posting on iTunes. I was like, what the fuck is this? What's going on? And so...
I think another podcast I listened to, they were talking about that problem.
Yeah.
They were having that problem.
Yeah, iTunes is fucked up. And you get no customer support from Apple because you're not a customer. Yeah. They're providing a service for you to be able to put your podcast up there, so they don't give a shit.
And then they hate this whole podcast thing because there isn't any money in it.
There's no money in it for them. So they don't give a shit. They don't help out. So I couldn't figure out what the hell was going on. I was... interfacing with our IT guy John. We were both kind of stumped. We couldn't figure out what was happening, and we figured maybe I tweaked a couple of the iTunes settings. I thought maybe it'll come back eventually. And so for weeks and weeks, this was the case. And I realized... Does that explain
the precipitous drop in our listenership?
It explains some of it, because I realized almost half of our audience is not subscribed. They would just listen to us on iTunes.
So if they wouldn't see the new episode.
New episodes aren't posting. So I think a lot of people, and they're not hearing these episodes, the recent ones. So I think a lot of people just thought the show was gone.
Yeah.
It's not gone. If you're subscribed, you still get it because you're manually subscribed to our RSS feed, which is why it's very important to subscribe. But if you're hearing this, you are subscribed, so it doesn't matter if I tell you.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to get the word out there somehow. But
Tell
now
your neighbors.
We are finally back on iTunes. It took weeks and weeks. IT guy John was helpful trying to figure this stuff out, and eventually I just had to resubmit our feed to iTunes.
The views expressed on the Warren and Bradley show are not necessarily those held by the hosts, Warren and Bradley, nor those of the proprietors of the website, warrenandbradley.com.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, fire!
Let's make some magic.
It is magic time. Hello, and welcome once again to the Warren and Bradley show. I am one of your hosts, Bradley Victor.
I'm the other host, Warren Van.
Oh my lord, it's a beautiful day in Bellingham, Washington after a week's worth of rainy weather. Get out there and enjoy it.
Yeah, it's nice.
Of course, by the
I mean,
time
it's
you hear
literally
this-
just cleared up.
Yeah, I think this is it. I think it's begun now. Maybe it's too early to say.
Way too early.
It's way too early to
It's
say.
a month too early.
Yeah, it's June now, but yeah, we still have about a month and a half
Yeah.
of shit. People
Yeah.
were asking me about, let's start going swimming, man. Let's get out in the lake. No. The lake takes...
Lake's probably cold.
We have a very fairly large, fairly deep lake, Lake Whatcom near Bellingham. I mean, we have a bunch of lakes, but that's the main one I swim in. And it takes at least until like mid-July until your nipples will be visible.
Yeah.
If you get into that water, it's
It's all that
ridiculous.
cold runoff from the mountains.
Yeah.
The melting snow.
Snow melts.
Yeah.
We're going to have a good show this week. We have a lot to talk about, but first, a little show business to discuss. We've been complaining about how nobody listens to the show. And
Our complaints have fallen on deaf ears. Ironically enough.